for the people out there that subscribe to my channel and watch my videos, I hope you find them interesting. I hope you find them stimulating and something useful, not a waste of your time. I try to make them kind of short, but sometimes they go kind of long. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to talk to an audience. I like doing that, but I wanted to make a video here, just to kind of chat about life and things I've been thinking about recently, and just kind of share my thoughts, and also give you guys a life update on what's been going on in my life and how things have been going. And yeah, so I recently moved about 2 hours away from the place that I've lived my entire life, and that happened about 6 months ago. So it's been a big transition period in my life where I go from something that's very familiar, something that really was kind of my world, and kind of expanding into a place where everything's new. So it's been pretty crazy. Honestly, it's been a really cool experience so far. It's not really the ideal place that I want to live, but it nonetheless is brand new, and it's pretty cool just for that reason. So yeah, that's been great, and I think it's a launch pad to another place. So I'm excited about that too. But yeah, I just want to kind of talk about. I guess I wanted to do another philosophy video, right? I made a recent philosophy video, and I think it didn't really touch on like the philosophy that I have of life completely, right? And it was an attempted explanation of what I'm about to talk about. So that video is very truthful. It's very open and very honest, and everything that really I talked about did happen. And yeah, it's a pretty good video. But I kind of want to talk more about my philosophy on life and go into a more explanation, detailed and better explanation. So, number one is the philosophy that you have on life is very important. And you might not even know what your philosophy is, but it's really how you live your life. This is my cat, Callie, by the way. She's probably getting in the way, but it's really just how you live your life. Right, so whether you know what your philosophy on life is or not, you have one, because everyone really does. It's really just your value system and the decisions you make and how you live your life really is kind of like, or really just your perception on life. I guess that could be a philosophy, right? We all have these different philosophies of life because we all have these different perceptions on life. And I think that's really awesome. It's really what makes us all unique, and it's an amazing thing to be a human being for that reason. One thing that's very important to understand is that you can change your perspective to a better one. If you're in a bad place, if you're in a bad place right now, and your perspective seems to be lacking, and for better or worse, or whatever, I don't really know how to speak for you there, but if you're in a negative place, if you're in a bad place, mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is, you can change that, and you're not doomed. And I think there's a lot of help online. There's a lot of help in a lot of places that you could go listen to people talk, and it really helps you better understand things. But, I changed my philosophy on life. I used to have a philosophy where I never was one that lacked ambition or motivation. I was actually always very goal-oriented. I always wanted to do something really big, and I always had a big vision. I always thought differently than people. I could focus on long-term goals, and I could really make them happen. But it sounds really great, but I was actually not happy. I was actually a pretty miserable person because my life was really just filled with accomplishments, and it wasn't that great. My social life was really bad. I didn't really have any friends. I wasn't really attracting any people into my life. I felt like I was pretty miserable and lonely for that reason. And what I really wanted to learn how to do is, like, how do I attract more people to me? How do I attract more people to make them more interested in who I am? And how can I provide something for other people to be a good friend, a better person? So, really what I realized is, like, the reason people didn't want to hang out with me, and the reason I was alone all the time, and the reason I didn't have any friends, is just because it wasn't because I was different. It was because I was nobody wanted to be around me. Nobody wanted to be around me. I wasn't attracting anything. I didn't have any positive emotions. I had so many negative emotions that it was pretty much just repelling people away from me. Uh, and it was a pretty miserable life to live. And although I was focused on my accomplishments and doing really well in life, and I was obviously capable of being successful in certain areas. It was like, this is not really the life I want to live. And what ended up happening is I actually started to balance it out. So yes, I have made some accomplishments since then, right? But it hasn't been to the extreme where it's all my life is. So I've been able to balance my life more and created a social life. I've been able to attract people toward me. I've been able to improve my social skills. I've been able to have more friends and experience more happiness and connections with other people in exchange for maybe less achievements. And really the motivation to get those achievements was just to get attention from other people. So at the end of the day, it wasn't really a genuine pursuit anyway. So how did I do it? How did I change my philosophy? Well, unfortunately, it took me to going to a really dark place to be able to finally wake up one day and be like, I don't want to be this person anymore. So hopefully you don't have to go to that place just to change who you are. But honestly, that's what it takes for a lot of people, and that's what it took for me, and it happened, and I'm glad it did. Things haven't really been the same since I started changing my lifestyle, habits, choices, values. It all started with kind of education as well, like educating myself on things. The internet really helped me understand parts about myself that I didn't understand earlier. And I'm not gonna keep beating around the bush. I'm honestly just talking about, a lot of it has to do with semen retention. To be honest with you, I mean, a lot of it has to do with my biological understanding of what it is to be a male, and what it is. I mean, women, I guess it has the same effect, but it took many, many years of paying attention to how I feel after I do something to finally be like, okay, I should probably stop doing that if it doesn't make me feel good. So yes, it requires a certain level of problem solving skills, but at the same time, it was also a habit. It was also just like an impulse. I started, I was honestly masturbating because it was just a normal thing I thought that we were supposed to do. I did it because it was normal. I wasn't doing it because I even really wanted to do it. I was just doing it because it was normal. And that's a crowd mentality, and I think I finally broke out of that. But I kind of went my own way on it, and I'm glad I did. I don't regret it. I think I'm a happier, better person now, and it might not show with my achievements, but it definitely shows in my character, and it definitely shows in my abundance of life. I have more of myself, and I have more to offer. So yeah, I think it's been working out pretty well. My philosophy on life is really just to do the things that I want to do. Okay, that's basically how I live. I just do what I want, and I don't feel guilty about anything that I do. I just do whatever I want. And sometimes you might make a bad decision and you learn from it. But honestly, I just finally have started to do what I want to do. And it might sound really simple. It sounds very simple, doesn't it? Well, why do not more of us do it? Why are so many of us doing things that we don't want to do? Why are so many of us doing that? Well, I mean, sometimes we gotta work, obviously, but at the end of the day, you can really make yourself miserable by not doing things that you want to do, or you don't really know what you want to do. So you just do things that you have already done in the past, or that you've been doing for a while, and it's like you haven't switched it up. You're doing the same things all the time. There's not very exciting, but you're doing what you know. That's not really a very exciting life, and it's not really the life, that I live. I'm always doing things differently, and I try to balance things out. I don't really stick to one thing for too long. I think The only things that I've really stuck to for that for a long period of time are really just the things that I love doing, and it's my hobbies. And people come and go in my life. My family's really important to me, but yeah, I mean, I really do just do whatever I want, and I think it's a very simple way to live your life. And I think once you can get rid of the guilt of doing things that you want to do, things get so much better. If you can get rid of that self-hatred and the guilt of enjoying life, of going out and you're really enjoying yourself, something's wrong. Why am I enjoying myself so much? You almost feel like you don't deserve it. So I think a lot of people live in that place, and I did. I think it's really, really important to understand the fundamentals of what it is to be a human being. Pay attention to the things that make you happy. Pay attention to the things that make you feel good. Pay attention to the things that don't make you happy and that make you worse off, that do you harm, mentally, physically, whatever, that do you harm, and stay away from that shit. And stay more toward the light, right? More toward the things that make you feel good and make you happier. And what I've realized in my life is there's a handful of things that make me happy, and then there's a handful of things that I sometimes dive into because I just have a self-destruction in me, as we all do. And I really want to keep this pile big and abundant, and this pile as small as possible. And that's really my philosophy. With that said, some things you want to do, you shouldn't. You do that based off of just kind of the self-destruction, but also like there's certain things that I know are not good for me because I've paid attention to how I feel after I do them, but I'll still do them because they feel good in the moment, and then all after I might feel bad. So pay attention to that stuff, because that stuff is really the killers in our society. That involves drugs. I mean, I think a lot of that, I don't do drugs, but I think that would fall in line with like drugs or pornography or something that's like a short pleasure that doesn't really fulfill what we really want, and then it makes us feel worse after. And then we have like these things over here that are actually both. They make us feel good and we feel better after. I think one of those things is friendships. There's nothing like going out with some of your friends and having good conversations and laughing and having a good time and really connecting with somebody. You feel better after that, and it feels good while you're having those kind of conversations. Another thing for me personally is just my hobbies, right? They feel good when I'm doing them, although they might be challenging, and I also feel good afterwards, right? It's things like that. So we have these two piles, and I try and do all these things, right? I focus on doing these things. Now another thing is that just being realistic is we all have to work. So that's not exactly something that's somewhere in the middle, right? We don't like doing that. But I always look at work as like, I work for the essentials in my life. I do what I need to do to have the essentials and to have a little bit of extra money to do other things that I want to do. But I really do it for the essentials. I do it for the roof over my head, the food, to keep living. I really do it so I can do all the things that are in this pile. And maybe, obviously I've had a lot of thoughts towards, I'm really trying to figure out how to make it so I can just do this all the time without having to do things that I don't want to do, like work, right? We all wish we could do that. But I'm really trying to figure that out, how we can make passive income so we can have more time to do the things that we want to do. How can we have a free schedule so we don't have to be in one particular location for an extended amount of time, where we can move around and do things that we want to do during the day while also maybe getting some work done in between. Certain things like that will make your life better. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of my philosophy in a nutshell. It's like, just do the things that are good for you and that make you feel good, and do what you want to do with your life. Do whatever you want. I mean, and you gotta know what you want. So you gotta figure out what you want first, and you have to stay centered on that each and every day, so that you wake up and that you're able to do what you want to do. And that's easier said than done. I think on the weekends I have that ability more of, but yes, there's times where you're gonna have to have self-control and discipline to be able to go to work in the morning and get shit done, and then you'll have your free time whenever you have it. But stay centered in who you are and what you want, and I think eventually you just sort of attract those things to you as long as you stay centered in them. Um, make shit happen and be who you are, and be fully who you are with confidence and with boldness. I think that's how I go through my life. That's how I've changed. I've changed a lot. You know, make bold decisions, do bold things, be centered in who you are, be confident in who you are, and just go through life that way. And treat people with respect, and be kind to people, and be nice. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that was a little bit better explanation with how I think. But yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on life, I guess. And how I look at it. Peace.